Welcome back to week 3 of the 2014 Summer Split. Joining me at the caster desk for our next 2 games, it's going to be Joshua Jat Leesman.
Thank you very much, Riv. It is going great. Yeah. We have probably the marquee matchup of the day coming up now. At the start of the day, even though the first 2 games were both incredible.
They have been amazing. LCS gives us nothing less. Now, we've been combing through, I was going to say combining, but we don't combine your tweets, combing through the flood of Twitter answers to find the choicest 140 character cuts. Here's what we've come up with. And to remind you, earlier we asked the question, which teams in the NA LCS have the highest ceiling and why? And the first tweet says, at Ruckus, the team with the highest ceiling has to be CLG. They're 100% potential.
I mean, they always have been 100% potential. And now that Aphromu's really a full-time support, probably best support in the NA LCS, it's coming around. Seraph, though, still needs to reach his ceiling. That's right. Our next tweet comes from VersiIU.
I think Dignitas has the highest ceiling right now. When they work together, you can't stop them.
I really want to see how high Crumbs can actually go this split, because he seemed like an average NA LCS jungler last split, but now with the solo lanes kind of unlocking his true potential, I can't wait to see what he does.
All right, let's see our next tweet. Jack Nick 2 says, don't forget about Cloud9. They still have the highest ceiling, and the rest of the North America better watch out.
Well, at the moment, Cloud9 needs to watch out for every team in the NA LCS. Surprisingly, they've lost to Cloud9 and Complexity so far this split, but they're still beating the top team, so they're just a matter of consistency.
And here's one from Dig's own Skara. Our house has a pretty big ceiling, pretty high ceiling. Absolutely. We'll be talking to him in just a few moments before we get into the game, actually, to see what he's been feeling.
I was waiting for one of those. To see that. There's a lot of teams that used to buy mansions, and those would definitely have the highest ceiling. The old CLG house, for instance, had a huge ceiling.
Oh, good trolls. Thanks to everyone who wrote in, and if you're someone that likes to be fashionably late, you can still join the party by sending your answers to LOL Esports and use the hashtag LCS. But now it's back to the games with Team Dignitas versus Counterlogic Gaming. Dig holds first place right now. Who would have thought? They've been playing amazing, but only by 1 game so far. So a win here would pull CLG into spot for the tie and top.
Yeah, and this has actually become somewhat of a grudge match, honestly. When Dignitas made their roster changes, CLG's coach actually tweeted that adding Zion and Shifter wouldn't solve Dignitas' shot calling issues. And CLG's made changes of their own. They added the Korean top laner, and we've seen some pretty big miscommunications between those guys, and it's looked questionable, whereas Dignitas has looked incredibly solid, #1 team in the standings right now. Crumbs in particular, as we mentioned, has benefited so much from these solo lanes. He is playing that supportive jungle style, Elise Lee Sin. Yeah. He can flash for ganks. He's not worrying about his own carry potential because he knows the 2 guys on either side of him can do it.
All right, and while stronger lanes have helped Crumbs, the opposite can be said for Dexter, who's been spending more time in the top lane the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and honestly, he's been spending more time in the top lane with mixed success. He's still adjusting to Seraph. 2 very different games last week. In one of their games against TSM, they went for a 2v1 gank on Dyrus, and both died when they went for it. But then the next game, Seraph started 5-1, so it's still a work in progress, and Dexter is spending so much time trying to work with Seraph.
All right, and CLG says, Dignitas used to be a team that relied on gimmick strategies to get their wins. But with their new lineup, they're finding success playing a more straightforward game.
Dignitas is always a team that will just kind of play pretty standard. They don't really pull out any like cheesy stuff. Like before, I used to always think of them as like the team that would always pull out something weird. But now they look as if they know how to play standard really well.
CLG going into the split I thought would be one of the best teams, but as the season has gone, the game they had against Complexity, which they should have lost, really shows that perhaps they have a little bit of trouble maybe with Seraph, but there is a lot of inconsistencies that I can pick up on from some other players.
Dignitas can be a top 3 team if they really want it. Crumbs really wants it, and I think he's really taken the initiative to push his team, and he's really good at setting up plays for his team, and almost like the odd one style jungle where he wards up his team and then gets his lane snowballed, then you have Shifter and Zion who can carry the game.
We'll see if Crumbs can keep up that pressure against Dexter, who, like we said, has been faltering, but can still make the plays of his own.
Yeah, and this is going to be a fantastic game. Every single matchup is intriguing.
Absolutely. And now, for an inside scoop on the match, let's throw it down to Freak, who's down on the stage.
Thank you very much, guys. What's up, guys? Freak here with Skara, the coach for Dignitas, or one of many. Big fan following for you, Skara. Of course, people haven't forgotten how awesome you are. So I want to ask you then about Dignitas here, because you guys are starting out the season 5-1. Now, last year, 2013 Spring Split, you started your season 10-2 and then faltered from there. What do you do as a coach to keep your team in top form?
it's just about keeping stuff fresh and making sure people don't get complacent. Like, you want to make sure that when you're ahead, it's even more important to play more than anyone else, because they have, like, you have to make sure that the gap between you and the next place and the people below you isn't like shortened. You want to make sure you always play more than them. So even if they're improving, you're improving at an equal rate or better.
So speaking of improving and sort of playing better or differently from your opponents, one thing that's interesting about you guys is, Crumbs especially, but your entire team buys more wards than any other team in the North American LCS. You have kind of your own style of heavy vision control. Is this a style that other teams should be adopting as the best way to play, or is it just, this is the dig way and many of these are viable?
I have absolutely no idea. I think generally we value vision very highly. We think vision wins games, and we have yet to be proven otherwise, actually, by any region. And so I think maybe we might be doing it too much, but I'd rather be doing that than doing too little.
And of course, that is working for you guys. So coming up now against CLG, of course, you're fighting for them as top 2 right now. Are these guys your toughest competition, or maybe who is?
I think CLG is definitely one of the teams that gives us the most problems. They have certain things about their team that make it hard for our team to perform well against them. And I think that going into this game is just going to be decided by how much vision we can actually control in this game. And so I'm hoping they over-reward this game, because it's going to help us a lot.
So you're saying vision control is a really important facet of this. Now, I know one thing that changed with Dig that's helped get you guys to the first place mark is your 2 new players there, Shifter and Zion. I feel like on an individual skill level, Dignitas is top tier. Do you think that's another part that's going to separate you from CLG, who's like with their new top laner Seraph isn't maybe doing quite as well?
I definitely think the new pickups were pretty big improvements, but not maybe even completely mechanically, although both of them are mechanical upgrades. I feel like the Zion just adds a lot to the team through speaking a lot. His communication is very, very much on point. And Shifter just adds like he's very dedicated. He's probably one of the most dedicated players I've ever seen. He's like a demon when it comes to grinding solo queues. So he's definitely one of the players to watch out for, because I think right now he's yet to be like fully even close to hitting his cap. And that means like already he's shown himself to be the top 3 NA mid laners. I think he only has upwards to go from here.
Well, that'll be fun to see. So in talking with Crumbs, he already has his eyes set on Worlds. He's looking further far into the future. And of course, you guys being number 1 means you would go if you win playoffs. Where are you looking right now? Are you looking week to week, or are you like preparing to like have Shifter take down Faker?
I've always said, and even when I was a player, I prepare game by game. And that's what we've done to the team. So while he is looking toward Worlds, everyone's very grounded and looking like every game is important. A win against C9 is the same as a win against like Complexity. Any of the top team wins is equal to any of the bottom team wins. And we take every game one step at a time, make sure we don't get too complacent, and we just build our teamwork, our confidence, and eventually we'll just be the best team.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time, Scar. And of course, guys, good luck on maybe a quest for a 2-0 this week, but we're going to get ourselves into the game, so we'll send it back to the guys at the caster desk.
Thanks, Freak. And let's get right to it. On the blue side, it will be Dignitas. It's going to be Zion Spartan in the top lane, Crumbs in the jungle, Shifter in mid. I'm a cutie pie chatting it up with Kiwi Kid on support.
And on the red side, of course, it is Counter Logic Gaming. Seraph in the top lane, Dexter in the jungle, Link in mid lane, Double Turn AD, and Aframu on support.
And for this matchup, we will be going to the top lane for our feature with Zion Spartan versus Seraph.
Yeah, and Rib, this is going to be an incredibly important lane to watch, because Seraph has had that one great game on Jax, whereas Zion has been showing up each week in a big way. As an example, Zion has the highest KDA, the least deaths, and the second highest kills in 6 games as far as top laners go, whereas Seraph has the second lowest KDA and the second most deaths on a pretty successful team. So honestly, if Seraph can stay equal against Zion Spartan, then I feel like CLG has a great shot at pulling out a win here.
It's actually a mismatch in quite a few lanes. As we talked about recently, you have the double lift and Afro. They're going to be going up against Cutie Pie, Kiwi Kid, and who really puts anybody above double lift and Afro right now on the North American scene?
They're world-class bot lane at this point, and not taking anything away from I'm a Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid,
right,
but they don't seem to be at the same level as Double Lift and Aframu. I feel like mid lane is one of the most dynamic matchups, even though it's 2 guys that never die.
Yeah.
Shifter's died twice this entire split. He's got 33 kills, 2 deaths, and 30 assists. It's a 31.5 KDA. It's absolutely insane. Whereas he's actually had, so that means he's had 4 games where he hasn't died.
Right.
Link has had 3 games where he hasn't died, and is playing incredibly well since his experience at All-Star, getting so many scrims in against Faker himself.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to kill each other in this lane, let's be completely honest, if they're used to not dying, but they're both probably going to be able to excel if the rest of their team does well, and it's going to be the side lanes and the jungle that actually decide the majority of this match.
And jungle is definitely something we're keeping an eye on as well, seeing that Dexter has been having a little more work to do, and it's been putting some stress on him. Working with Seraph in that top lane, we mentioned the dive onto TSM was a little bit of the miscommunication that we reflected on, or where CLG is coming right now. But looking at what CLG can do with Dexter and Link in the mid lane could really be where they get their foot forward in this one.
Yeah, and it's all about jumping out to an early lead here in the LCS, both in game and in the standings. Dignitas, #1 team right now. If they were to lose this game to CLG, we would have a 3-way tie at the top of the standings between LMQ, Dignitas, and Counterlogic Gaming. Who would have guessed that after the first game of Week 3, TSM and Cloud9 wouldn't be in the top 3?
Yeah, I don't think anybody, especially with how the Titans ended their split as well, both teams. Let's see what they can do. We have bans Yasuo, Thresh, Jax, and Lee. Pretty even ones coming out across the board.
Yeah, I mean, especially against Dignitas, you're going to want to ban that Jax away straight off the bat because Zion Spartan would be able to take over the game against Seraph. One really interesting thing about the top lane matchups is even though we're kind of talking about Zion Spartan versus Seraph,
right.
so much of the top lane since we started with the turret changes and all the 2v0s we've been seeing is about how the team decides to give their top laner farm. Average CS of 10 for top laners is 50. Last split it was 65. They're really at the mercy of their team, so it's more about Dignitas enabling Zion to do well.
And a let through Kassadin here. I heard a lot of junglers in solo queues say, this is sometimes, I'll do this just to focus him down, but I don't know if you'll be able to catch Shifter. We'll have to see what they decide to do here.
Well, right now, especially with the Ziggs ban, that kind of tells me CLG is going for a fast push. They're going to want to be shoving in lanes as quickly as possible and maybe getting back to that turret game. Maybe they'll wait until 7 or 8 minutes to do it, but even then, Kassadin's wave clear is incredibly lackluster. And the polar opposite of that would be Ziggs. If you're going to run a fast push composition, you have to ban Ziggs, which is what CLG has done.
Seraph safe play for the Shyvana double lift. Gets himself Lucian so he can bully out in lane. Aframu leaving it up. We've seen so many supports come from him lately. They don't even need to worry about grabbing it. We'll see what Crumbs and Shifter have to grab here. That Kassadin pickup going to give Shifter a lot of movement around the map. Really help create chaos for CLG.
Yeah, you definitely feel like Elise would be a pickup here for Crumbs or Lee Sin. Those are the two junglers he has mastered, probably the two best junglers in competitive League of Legends right now. Dexter will probably take whatever is not up, but Dignitas at least gets the cream of the crop here. Crumbs has played Elise in so many games, as has Dexter.
Dexter's try 5 out of 6 for Dexter.
Yeah, 4 out of 6 for Crumbs as well.
Yep.
But they are taking their time. That Kassadin pick, I don't necessarily think they expected it to go through. So when they did that, they kind of had to...
You almost, put yourself in a pinch.
Restart their strategy here and make sure they have enough damage overall with the Twitch pick.
Interesting. Well, Cutie Pie does get a champion in, where he said in the intro video, I just want to crush faces harder. You can do that with a Twitch. So it looks like he'll be happy coming into this matchup. See if Kiwi Kid can keep himself in range this game. He's doing some crazy stuff.
Kiwi Kid is a rather crazy support. It's a crazy matchup in the sense, I'll get to that Kha'Zix pick in a second, because Kiwi Kid will oftentimes go and make a big play, but he'll oftentimes go and make a mistake, whereas Aframu has just been making a bunch of big plays without making mistakes, somehow.
Yeah, somehow we heard in the all chat Dexter just saying, Aframu, God, how do you do it all the time?
Who's your favorite support?
Who's your favorite support?
Slow on that answer. The Kha'Zix pick as well was actually very quick by CLG. I wonder how they're going to be using that. This is kind of the last week of this Kha'Zix. He received significant changes in the most recent patch that hit live. But we are on the 4.8 patch for the NA LCS this week. Obviously, not enough time has passed for it to be used.
Almost the Poppy. You played Poppy support the other day. How'd that go for you?
It started well. But I feel like that's because not many people understood the wall stun mechanic. That's not happening in this Dignitas game.
See what we get. Oh, the KO pick actually banned out last game. Saw Ackerman using it before. I don't know, go back to Shifter in the mid lane, and the Nami gets some playtime too. She's been seeing herself on that ban list.
Yeah, a lot of attempt of counter initiation right here. Kha'Zix and Shyvana cannot jump over the tidal wave. If it hits them while the tidal wave is rolling, it will interrupt their movement ability. So that is potentially a counter dive right there. And also a Kayle top lane. We saw a very similar thing between Ackerman and Dyrus, where the Kale, if he gets a little bit of scaling, can completely shut down that top laner. Very interesting picks there from Dignitas.
That would be a great grab on the fish. Just do it.
Yeah, Nami, a fish, versus another fish.
Get his playful trickster over the wave and get himself into that engage. See what happens. Not going to lock it in. They're discussing.
At this point, you could still pivot a little bit and have Dexter pick a jungler and have the Kha'Zix go into the mid lane, because Kha'Zix is actually pretty good at laning against Kassadin.
Ooh.
But they're going for the poke.
Super safety in the mid lane here, so it looks like Crumbs won't be getting any kills there. Looking to focus other lanes or at least put some pressure on. Definitely going to be an interesting beginning matchup. Looks like CLG decides to go for a bit of a poke game as well, with the ban of Ziggs, with the ban of everything else.
I'm a little surprised at the end of the day when they had such strong laning potential with the Lucian right off the bat, and knowing the Kassadin was on the other side. Kassadin isn't as early of a weak laner as he once was since the change. He's actually very good in a lot of 1v1 matchups, but still the wave clear wasn't necessarily there from Dignitas, and CLG didn't match with much wave clear of their own. They're instead just going for potentially some nice poke out and trying to stop Dignitas from being able to dive on top of them.
Well, a lot of maybes and ifs. We'll see if they play out. The game's about to go live, so let's see where the votes stand over at LOLesports.com. You guys are tipping at 61% in favor of Dignitas.
Yeah.
Well, they've been getting some big fans coming up here in this split.
Yeah, same with LMQ. You can update your vote over on Twitter as well if you send a hashtag DIGWin or CLGWin to @LOL Esports Twitter account, and we'll be checking back to see how that vote shifts throughout the game. Contrary to popular belief, just saying DIG or CLG win in the Twitch chat does not actually register your vote,
no, it does
as
not.
much as people like to try, but it doesn't work.
Just get spammed out right now, and then a can of salt next to it. Seeing the last two games come in, blue team, top side, lost due to dragon control. EG, however, did it, and they were actually able to come back.
Yeah, well, one interesting thing that happened in the LMQ versus TSM game is even though TSM had the blue side, they weren't the team that had their AD carry on the bottom side because they were most likely trying to avoid the Shyvana versus Kayle lane matchup. And I wonder if CLG is going to have to pull a similar thing, but with the roles being reversed, and whether that gives Dignitas dragon control.
Very good play coming in from both teams. And I'll say that out of picks and bans, because a lot of teams fell behind today in picks and bans, and their opposition even said that, confirming it.
Well, one thing about CLG's composition is they are incredibly low on crowd control, which gives a lot of the ability to pick fights to Dignitas. Almost all the initiation pressure is onto Aphromoo and landing Dark Bindings, and even then, a Dark Binding could just be a bait to initiate, because as soon as CLG flips the switch to go in, they could get countered by a tidal wave. But another clutch bind from Aphro.
Oh, the spear! He's not going to make it out alive. Wait, the potion? Oh, he lives! He lives! Oh, I've never seen someone chug a potion so good.
Oh, man. A lot of nice skill shots landed by CLG right there. They burned the Ignite on Aphro for the flash on Crumbs. Amazing that he did not die right there. That's all of the little rune and mastery tweaks trying to give himself that early game.
50-50. Dignitas wins. CLG. Oh, it changed. Thanks, guys. 1 minute on the clock, and we already got some action. Every game today has been drawing blood very early. Not for the death there, but Crumbs is definitely going to have to bandage that one up after using his flash early in the game.
Got a few broken legs.
Yeah. Break the wrist and walk away.
Yeah. It's crazy that Dignitas got caught out early, too, because Crumbs often starts an early ward on Elise as well. Just in order to do that. But this game, he started 5 health potions instead. Now he's on 4, which isn't terrible for Elise because she has really good sustain in the jungle anyway. And because the initiation was so early, other than the flash, there's nothing lost by Dignitas. It's all about their next move and how they play this jungle. It looks like they're just going to do the vertical swap of jungle buffs, both going top to bottom.
Making their way to safety. Good wards coming in from CLG. Allows them to see back towards the end line of top side so they know what they're fighting against. Sion and Spartan and Crumbs, the buddy system. As we start off the matchup, really keeping an eye here, as we said, towards that top lane.
And the lanes are shaping up the way we thought they would. It's going to be the Nami and the Twitch in the bottom lane, and a very early dragon for Dignitas if they so choose. It will be very interesting to see if CLG can predict this dragon going through, because if you know a team's going to try a dragon at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, you send 1 or 2 people down there and they're instantly vulnerable for a counterattack because they're burning all their spells and cooldowns on killing the dragon itself. It seems to be a fairly predictable strategy at this point. I wonder if CLG is going to try and counter.
Yeah, nobody has tried to move on it just yet. Falling behind on that would be quite hurtful. The Q's coming out from Shifter with that shield on. You can see how the trades are going back and forth with Link before he actually does have his heal, so he's staying safe.
CLG doing a bit of an interesting drop there. They did throw a ward over the wall, but they were hoping to actually see Zion Spartan up there and get an early gank in. They wasted a few seconds, not too much skin off their back though. They're still going to do the double jump.
Still trying. Keep it in mind. They can get a few kills here and there. I like that ward as well. But there it is, down towards the dragon. Dignitas going hard on this. Slowly. Doesn't look like Shifter's actually trying to put any harass on it, or sorry, Link onto Shifter as he farms under the turret here. Playing it real easy and giving him
There's
an
the
easy
3-minute,
farm
30-second dragon as well.
Yep.
COD spends so much time over on the other side of Dignitas' jungle that it's just a free take for them. And while they do miss out on a few minions here and there, the dragon is more worth it, especially because they know the exact timer on that. CLG very early on in the game put 2 wards right near the Dignitas mid lane, but it didn't really accomplish anything because Shifter's just been at that turret the entire time.
Good play so far from Dig to give themselves a 400 gold lead, exactly where they like to be in the early part of the game. In the lead with knowledge of further dragons. 4 minutes on the clock as it looks like Dexter and Seraph still hovering what would be, as Kobe says, their part of the jungle with the 2v0s. They have to go for the top side and the top side of their own.
Yeah, and you could actually see CLG is very methodical about the way they're doing this. They cleared out the entire jungle last time, not to counter jungle, because they kind of knew that they would be back. At that sense, CLG was just saying, yeah, the dragon is going to go away, but it's worth such a minimal amount of gold early on in the game when compared to what it is worth late game, that they think taking the jungle caps will keep them close enough.
Could have a good counter here. Everybody setting up in the mid lane. It's like they're on the same stopwatch. Shifter is going to get some help from the right side as he hooks right on this one, curbing that. And it looks like Link is going to be the one on the run now. Better get to see some flashes on this. And a just-in-time flash over the wall from Link.
Yeah, the roaming is in full force right now. Something about these 2v0s is at any given moment, there are 3 roamers that could appear in the mid lane. And in this game in particular, you know, there they were. It does end up burning the flash away from Link. And as we said, that mid lane is most likely going to be the 2 guys farming pretty well and not killing each other. Kassadin also pretty strong early in the game. 32 CS to 29 right off the bat. Pretty close matchup.
Pretty close indeed. Let's see what Dignitas can continue to do after that dragon grab. Solo lanes.
New pause screen as well.
Pause screens indeed. You check it out. 32 to 34. I was just about to talk about what have now become the side solo lanes. The AD carries must love this when the supports go off, do their ganking, that solo experience, especially Doublelift now in his own environment where he can farm his face off. They gotta love the early game now.
Yeah, Kiwi Kid had a malfunction with key bindings that is just getting fixed right now. We'll see.
Zigged when he should have zagged.
Yeah, zigzag. At this point, looking good with the bowl cut.
Yeah. Self-inflicted.
Yes.
Actually. He said he was tilting too much on stream. And if he did again, he gets a bowl cut.
Well.
There it
things
is.
you do while streaming, unfortunately. Not much has happened early on in the game. These guys are really just trading. The gold lead is basically just that dragon being taken. And the lane matchups were basically decided, I feel like, from the pick and ban phase with the Kale pick to decide where lanes would go.
We got an upgraded cloth, too. Instead of Sylvester, it's now Taz for Crumbs. Maybe that's what it's been.
Oh, I was lost for a second. For those of you who don't know, Crumbs always plays with a cloth on top of his mouse. He says it's because his palms get very sweaty during the game. It would give him degraded performance, so the cloth just obviously keeps his hand dry, and he still clicks the mouse underneath it. The only pro player who does that.
Yep. Stanley used to use little wipes under his wrist. I remember that at Worlds. He would do that. But yeah, Crumbs is the only one. It looks like it would be tough, right? They're like, that has to get under your mouse.
It takes years of practice, I'd imagine. Also, a lot of these pro players play with incredibly high mouse sensitivity. So they can go basically across their entire screen with just like a little flick here and there. Sneaky in particular, you only see his hand moving about this much.
That's interesting.
While he's playing, and he's just flying all over the place. It's precision these guys have. Got a high DPI setting on your mouse.
A lot of Gambit likes to play in 800 by 600, so you actually bounce the screen quicker. Not that you don't get any more vision, but you can move around faster.
Another thing about playing in windowed mode is it makes that no matter what monitor you play on, you always have the exact same size screen.
Right. Absolutely. You got to keep things correct. When you're not sitting at your computer at home with your feet up, it's a lot different. 5.5 minutes here in the clock. 600 gold is what Dig has been able to muster up so far. And Crumbs back to his ways of warding pink and green immediately out the gate.
Yeah, so pause done, obviously, and it's the wards that we talked about. Scar is saying maybe they're doing a little too much of it, but you'd rather be on that side of the coin. Seeing things as opposed to not seeing things is always beneficial.
I'll say that's true.
Yeah.
Slowly pushing up on a double lift here. He's got to keep himself safe. Not too safe as Aframu is just on his heels, ready to give a little bit more protection. You can see him either putting on the Ardent Blaze and saying, get away from me.
All right, so at this point, the lanes are starting to equalize a little bit as well.
I like it.
You're seeing the supports in the same lane. However, Cutie Pie has stayed bottom against potentially Seraph, so they're still technically avoiding the Kale versus Shyvana matchup, because if that ever hits and Kale is ahead of Seraph in CS, there is not going to be any coming back. Much like we saw in the LMQ TSM game, Ackerman got about 100 CS ahead of Dyrus by the end of the game. It's a very dangerous thing for CLG based on the team compositions.
Cutie Pie trying to zone out Seraph on experience here. He's already leveled down, applying those stacks of Venom so he can get a little bit more damage if necessary. Looks like he's doing himself pretty good justice in this lane. Cutie Pie, like I said in the intro, wants to be crushing more. Last split, Cutie Pie kind of said that, you know, they just told me to view everything as turrets because I like taking down turrets. And he actually started playing very well. It's just that mindset you got to keep yourself in. And a big word that Dig has been using is complacent. They don't want to get complacent. And sometimes we see that when they do really well week to week.
Yep. That's basically what happened to them at the end of Super Week. They got complacent against Cursed, and that's their only loss in the LCS thus far. One thing that is about to happen in this game, I feel like, the 7 minutes is when the damage reduction on turrets wears off. That's almost when teams immediately go for them. CLG is pushing the top lane very hard right now, whereas instead of doing that, Dignitas has made a choice to counter the blue buff right off the bat, and they end up getting it at the cost of a turret, though.
A little more experience to go to the wayside as Aframu and Double Lift to take this. Actually, Zion Spartans up here, so they're going to wait even a little bit longer, but here come the rest of CLG and what could be Zion Spartans. Bad decision.
Yeah, Zion is level 3 right now.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly important that he find a way to get farm, or that Dignitas protects him in a way to get farm, because right now CLG is doing the better team job of having Seraph succeed. He's level 4 on Shyvana versus level 3 of Zion.
It's difficult. It's almost like Seraph and Zion's job are being done by the AD carries now. He's saying, Cutie Pie, don't let Seraph farm too much. I'm going to fall behind up here.
You need a support for the top lane, not just a support for your AD carry.
Shifter with the roam. Looks like the team's got it under control in the bottom lane. Good calls here, not to just lead into that and tunnel with where we want the pressure. He's saving mid from... Oh,
whoa! Shifter jumping over the spear for some nice trade damage. See his Kassadin build as well. He's maxing his Q, which isn't actually what you see all the time. It'll be interesting to see whether Shifter maxes his Force Pulse or his W second, because it definitely goes both ways with this new Kassadin.
Oop, good dodge. Always walking perpendicular to the skill shots. A little swipe in. The shield Shifter is using quite accordingly here in any of the engagements. Cutie Pie, a little close on that one, but he didn't know he was exactly there. Rat-a-tat-tat has not come out yet. He doesn't have what he wants. He actually turns it on, but then he gets jumped on. First blood coming into Aframu, and like we said before, this is going to be a really hard lane. The poison's going to tick, but it's not going to take enough as he life steals it back up. CLG double lift and Aframu.
That fight went CLG's ways for a multitude of reasons, items and levels, and now Dexter trying to cascade that advantage.
They will not let it just be that. Going for Crumbs, they do get the smite out. There's the speed up, the ultimate comes out, and he bites down onto Crumbs to get that red buff for himself.
The most expensive red buff of Dignitas' game right there, because Crumbs falls and gives the red buff over. But get back to that bot lane fight.
Yeah.
Double Lift had a BF sword and a Vamp Scepter. Cutie Pie hadn't shopped yet, and Aframu was up, so even if the bubble lands, in their heads, Dignitas says, great, the bubble landed, we can go in on this. CLG is not amused. Look how quickly Double Lift bursts down Kiwi Kid to finish him off, and then even with the heals, it shows how powerful that BF Sword and Vamp Scepter was, especially after the fight was over. And another move in this game.
Seraph getting hit up quite hard. One more attack. Shifter's got this one going in. Zion Spartan still had the intervention. They worked that one perfectly up there, but they're now coming back. They have to do that.
The game really started so quickly once the 8 minutes was up because they played that mini game of doing the 2v0s, and once the laning phase happened and everyone had to swap back, each team caught each other in some transitions right there. So Dignitas got beaten out pretty handily by giving up the 3 kills, but they still do get that one thing back on surprise onto Seraph, the one guy who isn't necessarily been on the same page of CLG this entire split.
We've been seeing Dexter not really focus up there as well. They're saying, do it, not yourself, but make it work without us. 10.5 minutes into the game here. Beautiful positioning by Crumbs after he does get back, stops Link from doing too much pressure in the mid lane. But Link, now with a bit of that roaming, he stayed there. 93 to 82, starts to get a bit of a lead, but he's catching up on Shifter's kill that we just saw.
Well, especially on Kassadin. Shifter is not known as the player to completely outfarm a lane. He's the guy that would be more thought of to take over the game.
Right.
It's crazy how great Shifter's stats are so far from a KDA perspective. We already talked about it. 31.5 KDA coming into this game. Only died twice in 6 games. 1 death in 2 games. So 4 games where he hasn't even been killed. And he's gotten 30 kills, which is the 2nd most in the LCS. Not like he's just sitting back idly.
Different. Zion Spartan leveling that Q in the top lane. Figured we'd be going for E or something.
He's doing quick trades instead of shoving. Because he's more about denying Seraph farm than he is about really shoving in. Because if he shoves all the way into that lane, he's just more vulnerable to Kazakh's ganks.
Play it accordingly. Rod of Ages being charged up on Shifter already. That's huge for him. So early in the game, that'll be nice and charged up around 20 minutes. See what Link can do. Like we said, these guys don't die. They'll be getting kills, but neither of them have even really come close to dying yet. Just playing it safe. Eyes on the bottom lane from Dexter here. Doesn't look like they'll really be able to go on anything. Dexter's really hesitating here, so they may actually try to get something out of it.
Yeah, it really feels like Cutie is just trying to survive until the late game. Kiwi Kid is substantially starved on experience.
Ruh-roh.
They didn't have the collapsing potential right there. It was actually a really good timing for Dignitas to grab that, but it does mean the turret is basically unsafe.
Oh, pushed it right. Oh, the flash
Perfect shot
from Afromu closes the gap for any chance of missing by flashing directly on him.
Afromu has been so consistent throughout this entire split. When he burns his flash, he's going to make it count. Even at the very start of the game, he just landed that binding on Crumbs. Another one there to secure a kill on Kiwi. He's punishing Kiwi Kid right now. Level 5 support versus level 7, and he's feeding his AD carry double lift.
Zion Spartan also with Crumbs looking to take down Seraph again in the top lane. He sniffs that one out. He says it's a little too quiet around the rest of the map. Goes ahead and backs off for himself. Great engages all over. Great returns as well, but CLG still coming out on top, even though turrets are dropping across the map.
Yeah, but just the trade in the bottom lane is what's deciding this game for the most part. We knew our featured matchup was Seraph versus Zion Spartan, and the way the teams are going to protect those two. Dignitas has put a few resources in with the casting gank in the top lane to getting Zion Spartan ahead of Seraph. However, the bottom lane, the other side lane, has completely been dominated by CLG. Double lift and Afromu converting on multiple kill opportunities, and it's going to be an incredibly scary Lucian as these team fights approach.
Really good fight opportunities as well, coming out summoner spells on top so they can just do it again and continue to punish their lane. We've been talking a little bit about wards across all the games today, and you look at the bottom half of the jungle, CLG can push through here, pretty much do whatever they want. They could pinch down on Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid if they wanted to after the turret.
The area of control is very pronounced for CLG, whereas Seraph is still on his own.
He is on his own, he is running scared. He tries to flash over the wall. Too much crowd control coming from that situation. Actually, almost gets a kill for himself.
There's a lot of minions there, actually, that had to be intervention for. But that's Seraph giving up a death, and the other 4 people of CLG trying to capitalize on that. I do feel like this is the part in the game where Shifter's going to have to roam and try and make a lot happen. He's not the guy to dominate the lane, but he is the guy to take over the game, and Link's going to have to try and stop him by catching him with spears every time he tries to roam.
McCulling is going to try to walk this one out. Too many minions. Good slalom there by Cutie Pie to keep himself alive. But you can see the damage, the pressure that Double Lift is putting out right here. Going for a phage second to keep himself safe with HP for a few shots that he will always be taking since he loves to get so close. Wow, CLG.
Everyone on Dignitas is just back in their base.
Yep.
You know, especially with that Ziggs band, they were making sure that Dignitas couldn't shove out their lane. CLG didn't go with an incredibly fast push composition, but once they get a little bit of control, they want to make sure it takes Dignitas a long time to clear their waves, so that CLG has a lot of time to rotate between lanes.
Picks and ban phase have been going very well for teams across the board today. We see that instantly in these games when they want to take control. Got items coming out. So we got single items, both sides of the mid, both sides of the top. Actually, Cutlass isn't finished, so Stinger to Cutlass. The fight at a Dragon will be quite good, so we got 45 seconds on that. Area of effect here coming in a bit for Dignitas. Could help this fight. Like you said, that Nami ultimate can play a big role.
It really could, but looking at the general strength of Doublelift right now.
Yeah.
6,200 gold, sitting on 800. Not with his Phage fully completed. That could be a pretty big thing, but especially with the Nidalee poke, if Dignitas could group up early for a Dragon, they might be able to equalize this gold a little bit. It's going to be incredibly key about vision control in that area.
Yep.
CLG had actually been winning the vision war previously when they had the jungle covered, but they have to kind of reestablish that in the 10 seconds before Dragon here. It's a big battle. Someone is actually kind of bound to get caught before they get vision control, and that might be what decides this fight.
Dexter's got the speed up. They won't be able to follow with the amount of disengage Kiwi Kid has, though. Good call, but they're getting positioning.
That's pretty huge, having the Kha'Zix's ultimate burned right after that initiation. It means he cannot be tanky at all because he's sitting on 3 longswords and a Spirited Lizard Elder. He could get popped very quickly by anything from Dignitas. But they're starting the Dragon nonetheless. Dignitas doesn't have the appropriate vision control to be able to stop this.
CLG putting themselves out on a tightrope here, and it looks like Dignitas is bringing a
And
pair of
it's done.
scissors to the fight. They're going to be going for Dragon now. Actually,
Now they can get initiated on.
immediately comes in. Seraph dives into the fight without closure from his team to be there. He goes down instantly.
He didn't hit a single person with that Shyvana ult, but Zion gets caught!
Oh, the intervention comes in, drawing out Doublelift's calling. Looks like they're still going. Dexter, like we said, ultimate is down. The repel for the hop. Both junglers get out of that one.
Doublelift always so strong!
Doublelift, a flash Ardent Blaze into the light shot, and it looks like he goes down as well. CLG is digging themselves a grave in this fight.
And the speed of Dignitas, that's 3 for 0 so far, Riv.
Cannot, and they're still going to push forward. A flash from Dexter when he thought Shifter was going to keep going. They are running scared on this fight, and they tried to put themselves back into it every time.
What a push and pull fight that was. It was all about who could land the skill shots when, and the bubbles reigned supreme that time from Kiwi Kid. Suspect early game, but a big performance in that team fight. Unbelievable.
See what happens one more time on that.
Yeah, it seemed like when the tidal wave was down, it was fine. But Seraph makes a field goal. He goes through all of Dignitas with that ultimate, and
No extra
CLG
point
had
for that.
no follow-up. Then the binding made Dignitas think he could go in. The intervention stopped it, and then the chase continued. And this was really just Doublelift feeling stronger than he really was and not respecting the CC potential of Dignitas. Dash flashes in. Unbelievable aggression that time, right into a stun in the bubble. Dead. At that point, CLG's damage potential is gone, and they ended up getting chased down by Dignitas. That fight could have easily went either way.
That's a pretty crazy move by Doublelift there. He didn't allow any auto attacks to happen between his 3 abilities. He was going so hard that kind of messed up that combination. 1,000 gold.
Big time tunnel vision.
Yeah, CLG for 1,000 here. They're looking to push that 1,000, make it a little bit more. Looks like they had a bit of room to make a mistake there, but they actually don't drop the turret. So they are kind of gasping for air here.
A little bit surprising that even after that disaster team fight, CLG is still leading at gold. They were doing so well previously in the objective control and the farming that they just had those incremental advantages. And I think he's got to run pretty fast.
Here comes it's going to hit Link as well. They stop him down there. Cutie Pie on the other side. He actually grabs the blue buff to himself. They try to give it to Shifter, but it's all right.
The battle to see who can remain deathless in so many games has just been won by Shifter.
Yep.
4, and Link cannot go back. He's only been deathless in 3 games. That was a nice collapse there by Dignitas.
Absolutely. We look at a bit of our featured matchup, 97-104, but 105 in his participation in the fight. Scion Spartan is going to be coming out on top. And we saw what happens when the Shiv falls behind in that matchup.
Yeah, Nastra's Tooth versus 0-3-0. Shyvana. He has been getting a little bit of farm, but that team fight was just so out of sorts. And especially when you're trying to initiate on Shyvana, CLG needs to bring a little bit more follow-up. We talked about their whole team composition having almost no crowd control outside of what Afromu is bringing. So yeah, those ultimates are going to whiff from time to time because no one is even slowed when he's coming in and trying to chase people down.
And Dignitas, as they do, trying to control as much vision as possible for sweepers.
Cutie Pie wants to open up.
19 minutes into the map. When doesn't Cutie Pie want to open up? A Twitch on the front line. We've seen that catch many a player and put him in a bad situation. His blue buff, make him feel safe though. He can run around and throw out slow cast all day. bit of a change. CLG is wavering, but they still have the win here. We see Dignitas charging up all across the map, and their vote may charge up as well here in the next few minutes.
This is actually somewhat reminiscent of Dignitas' last game of last week against TSM, where TSM brought very poor initiation onto their team comp with the Volibear jungle.
Right.
At this point, it's Aphromoo who's the one who has to bring the initiations, and Dignitas has brought an incredibly mobile composition outside of the Twitch. Elise casting, Kale, Nami, all these guys get move speed. So Dignitas can be very patient in picking their fights, and it makes it very difficult for CLG to make something positive happen.
Great dodge on the spear. I think that was like the millisecond. You could have dropped
Yeah.
or repelled out of that one. Shift or Link doing what he can. Throwing, you see it, throwing spot on spears, but Dignitas has the right shoes on to get these dodges out. The ward wars coming into play now. These guys really need to get some kills under their belt, or at least some map pressure, because CLG is on the back foot.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, CLG is trying to create split push opportunities, so they don't have ways of directly initiating onto Dignitas, but there were still other ways in League of Legends to find fights, things that CSM didn't necessarily do against Dignitas in their last matchup. CLG can force around objectives well, if they can land spear shots and kind of poke and prod at Dignitas until they're ready to go in. They can split push, and mainly Baron will be a big calling card later in the game if they can get vision control. Because if you force people to defend their turrets, or you force people to come to objectives, you are still controlling them in some way, even if it's not through spells that slow or stun.
And as long as Dignitas keeps 3 pink wards and some still in their inventory on the map, they control that even much more. Still down at gold, but they are ready to push into the front door of CLG here. Looking at second-tier turrets in every lane on both sides, but Dig is looking across the mid half of the map here and put the pressure on. There's a ping over towards Baron from Dignitas.
Yeah, they have double pings.
Yeah, they have ward clear there, so maybe they're just saying, let's actually try to force this from a brush.
And they find one man, but they don't get too much damage on him.
PewDiePie
is
definitely has a
very
different play style.
Yeah, he'll open up. This is, especially since Doublelift is trying to do the split push down the bottom lane,
Yeah.
they want to pull him up as quickly as possible. And maybe even start the Baron, because they know CLG doesn't have vision control, and they know they're going to be a little bit squeamish about going in here, since they have no initiation potential or control over the Kassadin.
Gotta watch out how this goes. Running up the river, you're gonna catch a tidal wave right in the face. Turret goes down in the mid lane. CLG is gonna be forced to walk, or Dignitas rather, gonna be forced to walk this one in. A great spear onto Shifter, and they say, no, we actually need to back. They're gonna lose the inhibitor turret on this.
I mean, how long is CLG going to stay here? It's actually a great rotational move there. CLG pushing mid to give up the Baron. They just won't be able to fight for 4 to 5 minutes afterwards. Maybe they will.
Oh, Invis to Invis. Crumbs comes out, he gets the intervention on. Tidal wave passes right by as Seraph gets himself out with a bit of a heal, rather flash as well. And it looks like this could spell bad for Counter Logic Gaming. They did get that inhibitor down, but Dignitas could come out big on this to push even more.
Wow, they still only suffer 1 casualty, but how many turrets will they directly trade back? They finished the inhibitor and got a couple turrets from that. Now it's about how well can Link poke while Dignitas tries to counter push up this mid lane as 5.
Doesn't have too much mana under his belt. Hopefully a good dark binding will catch somebody that gets on those turret pressure, but looks like they back off. Wards on wards gives Dignitas safety in the mid lane. There's a dark binding, but it's not going to do much. This turret is falling quite slow, actually, for the amount of damage they're taking. Zion Spartan with intervention down for about another 30 seconds. And CLG now on the aggression from their side out of base after going down.
Yeah, but with no crowd control, CLG can't actually capitalize fully off this. Doublelift wants to,
Yeah.
But the flash dash didn't work out too well last time. This time he's got no flash up. Still, when we look at this thing as a whole picture, CLG won that trade. They completely won that trade. As long as Dignitas doesn't get anything with that Baron buff, considering they get the Dragon, the extra amount of turrets. Look at this gold lead. It actually just increased for CLG by giving up that Baron to Dignitas.
Gotta try to play it smart. You see the gold on the board right now. Doublelift up 1.6 thousand just on the 80 carries here. A little bit as well. Just about 1,000 gold in all if you look from left to right for each of those lanes, except for Zion Spartan. He has been able to not take down, but really stop Seraph from doing anything big in this game.
This is not a team composition where Seraph can easily succeed.
No.
Is definitely one thing. So it's twofold the reason he's struggling in this one. Dignitas trying to use that Baron buff to power through the mid lane, whereas because they know CLG can't catch them off guard if they're staying as 5.
Slow moving around the map. Dignitas.
Oh no,
Oh,
double
God.
lift. What are you doing?
Goes into the atmosphere of farming. Uh-oh, PewDiePie getting hit up quite hard, but that's why you have a Kale. Throwing out the intervention. They need to get away from this turret. They're going to go ahead and repel. Somebody else is going to take that damage, and only Link is there to help chuck out spears. CLG hasn't even got, like you said, an objective game where they can poke with these spears. They've been back and back to their face.
And old habits die hard for CLG right there. Double lift. It was mainly because they had no vision control in the jungle side there that he was trying to farm out at that turret, but especially against a 5-man roaming squad that has Baron. Come on, Doublets, you can't be farming out there. It was an easy kill for Dignitas. Almost ended up a disaster because Dexter barely got away.
Things just aren't clicking for CLG right now. They aren't putting too much on the table as well that they're trying to move into. Everything is really dig activated right now, and CLG kind of working towards whatever that is, trying to match that. We have 26 minutes just hitting on the clock, and the gold lead is almost nothing right now. Somehow, 500 gold between these two teams, 5 turrets, 8-4. CLG back on Dig's side of the map.
And I honestly don't feel like CLG has very long before they lose this game, considering the only thing they would have to catch Shifter is a Dark Binding. When he hits level 16, the Rift Walk cooldown goes down to 3 seconds base before cooldown reduction is even taken into account. He will be a completely unstoppable force on Kassadin if CLG doesn't get a big lead within the next 2 levels of Shifter. It seems almost impossible at this point, or they just have to play amazingly after it happens. I just don't feel like they have the tools to.
They're playing a little scared. All the Dark Bindings to just check the brush. Thinking they're getting big damage. They hit the Spider, saving out Crumbs actually. As they just kind of pepper each other back and forth here with a little bit of damage. CLG is really not going to get much out of this, and it's the time they have to hit it. Baron down. Map is pretty much objective free, so you can toy around here in the bottom lane without worrying too much.
Yeah, remarkably, CLG still has the gold lead.
Yep.
But how much does that really mean against the Kale and Kassadin plus Twitch? The combination of those 3 is just so potent come late game. Maybe Link can carry it with spears. That was a really nice one.
Getting pretty close to hitting. We're going to actually have Zion Spartan head out to the mid lane here and start crushing down. That's quite a big wave. He deters from that, and he starts to come back down to the bottom lane, but he's going to be coming through wards. CLG has the right timing, the right hits. They're going to be able to get the pressure on, and this disperse here from Dignitas gave CLG this turret.
They're trying to pull up this siege right now, and it's actually working pretty well. They're all thinking of backing here. Nice shot by
a little trickery, making it safe. They used about 3 sweepers on that one and then figured, well, Venom cast, that's fine. 28 minutes here. CLG is kind of forced to stay in the bottom lane after this one, and Zion Spartan still has to push in the mid lane.
Yeah, this could be a base race in the making. There's a Zion Spartan trying to shove both lanes, and CLG continues to push on mid. Dangerous grounds here, though.
That middle inhibitor is up, so they kind of have something to fight around if they don't want the danger of a turret. Zion Spartan says, okay, I'm back to pushing mid, guy. He has everything on his list right now, and it changes in a matter of seconds being the mid push. Looks like they'll finally get the bag.
What is COD's game plan here? Because Zion Spartan is getting that mid inhibitor very quickly. They try and get the initiation. That's all they had. Wow. They can't initiate anymore because the flash binding missed.
Dignitas feeling a little bit better about this. Kiwi Kid with the Tidal Wave ultimate up. It looks like he's going to throw it right down. The turret still goes down. PewDiePie on the outside. No rat-a-tat-tat to activate. Zion, he's wavering a little bit on this turret. Not doing damage to it now.
He does have teleport on Kale if they wanted to turn something, because their inhibitor is getting hit on right now, and he's not killing it that fast with Kale. He doesn't have too much attack speed at this point.
He has nothing under his belt to get that down any faster. And it looks like the inhibitor down to 50% health. PewDiePie, they are taking spears. This is the game CLG needed to be playing with Link on the back line, just huffing spears in.
No blue buff for Link, though. His mana is running low. He also doesn't have the cooldown reduction on his heal. They may have just gotten that without giving up anything. This extended siege by CLG, considering Zion Spartan wasn't there at all, he got nothing done in the mid lane, and CLG gets all the advantage off this one as long as they don't get caught coming back. Or will they go back? How long do they want to just keep faking this back?
It's a fake back. Well, they do have Baron in 8 seconds here. No, they will not decide to fully got him! They get Crumbs! The only crowd control is used perfectly on that. PewDiePie down to 25% HP. That's going to be Dexter. That's going to be double lift, and the rest of the team running hip into the base. The inhibitor goes down. Like I said, they have the mid one to go for now without the turret to fight. CLG making some late game map moves.
Riv, I have to say, the play is absolutely incredible by CLG right now. They only have a Dark Binding to play with, and they're making it work. Another one on his eye.
Oh my gosh. That's what Double Lift needs to do. Get the auto attacks out in between and threading them on the cast abilities. Still going for the inhibitor. They take a second one down. This means more minions to pour in the base. CLG is setting themselves up for this victory after what seemed to be
How fast can they run?
everything falling. Zion Spartan gets Dark Binding again to himself. One last hit, and he does take down Aframu, but that will be the least of their worries if the team can make it.
CLG overstayed their welcome. Look at what's up right now. Yes, they got the 2 inhibitors, but the Baron is up right now. And they're still going back for the base. They are completely trying to trap Dignitas. This is ridiculous what CLG is doing. They are only playing the map right now, and it's working.
Such great play in the last 5 minutes from Counter Logic Gaming, and what seemed like they were completely overstaying their welcome over and over again. Keep the stranglehold on, put themselves into a 2,000 gold lead, but this is Dig now going for Baron. We'll see if they can make it out with members alive. CLG won't be there to contest.
What a crazy, crazy game. It's almost indescribable in the sense that CLG, they do have disengage individually on every person. Like, they can all run away. Their initiation is just so bad that they're only killing turrets is how they've been working. They've gotten caught out. The fact that the Kassadin and Kale hasn't been able to chase them down is a testament to how well CLG is disengaging. And that entire 5 to 6 minute reel of them pushing bottom is just kind of textbook on how you play in a team that has limited CC potential.
Right.
They used all of their poke. They controlled vision with the 3 sweepers remarkably well. And despite Dignitas being a team that buys so many wards, they still were not able to keep tabs on what CLG was accomplishing. And even with Dignitas having Baron, it's only to prolong the game. When they're down 2 inhibitors, they can't do anything with that Baron.
Yep.
They need to wait for those inhibitors to come back up, and then we'll actually get to see the same story once again.
See if Zion Spartan can repeat if he gets that chance. He did finish a Rabadon's, and he also bought a recurve bow to kind of right that not having his attack speed when he needed it. Cutie Pie waiting for this. Actually, he's not even going to wait. That's a big wave that's not even pushing against them. So Dignitas is kind of out of resources unless they just want their jungle camps.
Yeah, and Shifter has hit level 16. That was the important part we talked about when we said CLG has to make something happen right now. You know, right before CLG made something happen.
Right.
But Shifter does have level 16 now. It's a 2.63 second cooldown on Rift Walk. CLG won't be able to run away from that.
Nope. Oh, the turret's going down so quick now. You get double lift.
Even though Dignitas has Baron, the 2 inhibitors down means they need at least one pretty much full-time defender against these things. If CLG can either open up this inhibitor or get inhibitor number 3, they feel like they secure the game. At this point, the way Dignitas wins is they have to basically ace CLG before making their push, which they're going to try for right here with that tidal wave.
That's a tidal wave. Double lift, very nicely waiting for the pop-up and then using his dash to get out of that. A relentless pursuit.
And immediately Dignitas has to peel back for the super minions on their Nexus turret.
Wow,
they might not even be able to clean that fast enough as Zion Spartan's trying to get it as their turret goes down faster and faster.
Nope.
If Zion leaves right there, they're going to lose their Nexus turret.
What?
They have to defend the 3rd inhibitor more so than the 1st Nexus turret. They feel like they're still going to have a 2nd one left.
I don't think.
That's the
I don't know
choice.
about that. They spawn every 30 seconds, so you just got a new minion wave, but Dig's still going to be forced to run back. Now fighting even closer to that turret, giving CLG the room to get into the base now. Kiwi Kid on the front line trying to throw out a bit of damage if he can. The calling's not going to help too much. Maybe Crumb sees that as a way to get in, but nobody else can follow that space. Whoa, Aframu gets hit! Shifter just late as well. Things are not falling into place here for Dig.
It's just a matter of time, it feels like. The inhibitors are respawning right now for Dignitas, though, which is why they wanted to make sure that next inhibitor didn't go down. If CLG gets this one, they only extend the pain, but if Dignitas can stop them, they have a chance yet.
That's a pretty good dive in. A good amount of abilities wasted that CLG uses to disengage are now done. Dig capitalizes on that.
Crazy game to describe here, but at the moment, Dignitas has all 3 inhibitors up, which means that CLG's pressure that was drawing Dignitas away is gone, especially with Dexter down. Dignitas gets to hold all 3 of these, and if they can actually get vision control up outside of their base, then they could control themselves with the extended teamfight power they have and still turn this game around. CLG was about an inch away from winning the game there, but Dignitas did hold them off.
Definitely a grit your teeth and go for broke game for both teams here. 3,000 gold in the lead. 1,500 just sitting in the pocket of Aframu right now that he's going to go spend to help the team. 1,200 for I'm a Cutie Pie, so more damage to be seen there, but 276 to 328 in the AD carries. Double lift has definitely made it a thing, so he will be on top of the late game. Gets that farm, and he's getting kills.
Yeah, and CLG is also trying to kind of make the lane matchups irrelevant in this game because they're only grouping up and playing the Siege game. Seraph is just there as a thing. It doesn't matter. They're not having a situation where Zion Spartan can pull off a split push. If Dignitas could somehow manipulate the map to get a 1v1 with Zion Spartan and anyone, he's strong enough that he'd be able to win.
Yeah.
But with so many exposed inhibitors, Dignitas can't seem to make that happen. Any type of catch and CLG would lose this game at this point, though.
Let's see what they can do. Shifter just getting his Zanya's back on clock, so they should be able to make some plays with this. He still hasn't died in the game. Neither is Zion Spartan. Hopefully that's not keeping them from doing anything too crazy. I don't want to give their shutdown gold away, but the plays have to be made. 1 minute on the clock. Dragon's going to be worth a heck of a lot of gold here in the late game. Could definitely be something Dig uses to help themselves. Maybe get a fight they want.
Yeah, the gold would be nice.
Right.
But I feel like the Dragon is probably the least of their worries. They don't want to get caught looking at an objective again, like Baron or Dragon,
that's true.
because that's what got them in this predicament in the first place. As soon as they went for Baron, they lost basically 2 inhibitors for that one. And at this point, they do have CLG contained. This is about the best situation they could be in, especially with that early harass onto Dexter.
Let's see here. They're getting a little bit of their composition and items together as they push onto the base.
I actually feel like Dignitas wants to win right here. If they can get any type of good catch, whether it be a Cocoon, they will try and follow it up almost immediately because they have the mini wave behind them, no dead inhibitors, and 5 CLG people trapped in their base. This could actually be a moment where Dignitas turns the game around.
They make one push in. That's a lot of damage going over to Crumbs. Kiwi Kid, the Hurricane, Runon's finished. Stinger as well. Spooky Ghosts go out. I don't know if they're going to be able to get there. No Ghosts follow back, so that means they hit their target.
Maybe a turn.
Cutie Pie onto Dexter. That's good damage for 2 shots to come out. Looks like jump over from Dexter keeps him safe. No summoners used there.
This game is incredibly tense right now for both teams because they know the slightest misstep, whether it be a Dark Binding or a Cocoon on the wrong target, would end the game. With how exposed both teams' bases effectively are, obviously 3 inhibitors is more exposed for Dignitas, but the team fight power and the pushing power of the kill Twitch once they kill people is adequate enough to end the game with a 1-team fight. CLG also can't take Dignitas head on, so they're playing with almost no tools.
It's been amazing that Dignitas has made it this far out of their base. Look at it. It's just inhibitors. 1 Nexus turret down. Somehow they are able to be up here. Their map pressure in the early part of the game definitely helped get them to at least a formidable position to fight CLG outside the base here. CLG is going to, like you said, slowly move back up, knowing they don't have the right initiation. Can't even stop down a lonely Nami.
Yeah.
No CC.
I honestly feel like it's a testament to CLG that they've even gotten this far because they just feel so outcomped by Dignitas at this point and outscaled that the only way they win is if they manipulate the map properly and pull off a strategic win. They cannot teamfight in a straight-up 5v5 at all.
A lot of heals coming out too. Zion Spartan, Kiwi Kid also with the heal. And you're going to have the Cutie Pie Summoner.
CLG's pretty far from home right now. It's not a long enough Dark Binding.
Few shots. Oh, was that a flash in? No, Cutie Pie was just in range to get the Venom cast down. Not too much will follow from that, though. Double Lift throws out the Calling Spears as well.
Yeah, he was trying to burn Banshee's Veils with that so that they could maybe catch someone, and Dignitas keeps trying. Everything's getting blocked or dodged.
Bubble's just missing. Oh, good dodge even on that. Kiwi Kid super slowed, and he still puts on the blue suede shoes there. Good guy Minion taking out that last one. Cutie Pie, again, still getting that movement. Coming in. Oh, Tidecaller's Blessing almost working out for Cutie Pie to help him. Dark Binding's coming left to right. If Afromu can hit this, like we've been saying, he's not the one to make too many mistakes. He has been making plays for CLG, and they need this. He is the one they're looking to hit a binding. Dignitas is trying to put the stranglehold on for the final push.
Maybe they can get something. The Black Shields have been so on point. Anytime someone goes in for a Force Pulse Kassadin, it is prevented by Afromu's Black Shield.
Can't even get plays off with Shifter Zanya. They have to play it safe. Crumb's taking another one. Link spot on with his spears right now coming into this game, and he has blue, so no worry for him to keep throwing those things out. Still pushing up in the lane. Good words from Shifter. Keeps everything in the team in knowledge of what CLG is doing. The same position we just saw both teams in, again, is almost the initiation for the fight. Middle of the map. This is where they're going to find it, possibly.
They're going.
It's going to be Afromu bubbled up. They go on to double lift. He gets the shield as Afromu hits the ground instantly. instantly. Shifter's into Zanya's, but he might be too closed in. Rift walks out of that one. Crumbs goes down. Too many shots to the abdomen. Double Lip flashes forward, but can't get the light kill. And it looks like
But they killed 2 people on Dignitas. They can just rush the base.
Big wrong side of the map as CLG makes their way in. A 40-minute nail-biter between these two teams. And Dignitas in first place, maybe dropping the game to CLG here as they make their way in 2 timers at 35 seconds.
There is 1 Nexus turret remaining, but Shifter is at full health. So is Zion Spark.
This would be huge if Dig can stop it. Shifter goes down. The Zanya's was used. The activate isn't there. Cutie Pie falls to the ground, and CLG picks themselves back up and puts themselves right in the game for the win.
What just happened is a question that many people are going to be asking right here, including Dignitas, because they had so many tools to win this game. The initiation from Kassadin, the low cooldown Rift Walk, the stuns, the tidal waves, all the counter initiations. But CLG just strategically crushed them in this game. They played the turret and inhibitor game. They found the fights they needed. They never got initiated on. And they're tied for first place.
What an amazing day of games. This one also bringing it to 11 on the meter. Great play and a great comeback from their own mistakes for CLG.
Yeah.
A few mishap fights that really put them on their heels. They only lost mid. And they were able to just come back strong.
I mean,
No, they didn't even lose mid. Sorry, they got stopped at the inhibitor turret.
that game kind of defied so many things that a lot of North American League of Legends teams hold dear. Like the fact that they had a Kayle hit late game, substantially far ahead of the enemy top laner. The Shyvana that was 0-4-0 until the final fight. The Nidalee that didn't get a kill the entire game. The one Dark Binding to rule them all as far as initiations
Oh my
go.
gosh.
And they landed them when they needed to. They peeled when they needed to. They poked when they needed to, and they won the game.
Afromu, kudos to him. Huge play on support throughout the entire summer split, and it's the second time he's been doing this. It didn't work out for them the first time, so they kind of had to do some thinking, went through a few more supports, but back on the team now, it's like he always should have been there.
It's like it's his natural position.
Yeah.
The Twin Shadows Morgana.
Oh my God.
He does it on almost every single support he's playing on, but honestly, this was kind of about just the CLG communication and team play. However that is working for them. I know Dexter makes a lot of calls. Link obviously has a lot of experience brought back from All-Star. They are also, when we interviewed Dexter last week, when it looked like they had that slow game against Complexity where like the gold was even for so long and they just kind of won the game. They keep doing this. And it's a different style of gameplay than any other team in North America. It's not going to be flashy for your fantasy team because they get like 5 or 10 kills a game. Maybe if you pick the CLG team because they kill like 11 turrets in every game they win. They
love everything.
The map. It is just a really hard thing to play against. You could tell that Dignitas was getting extremely frustrated by what Dig was doing there. There was that extended standoff in the mid lane at the end of the game there where Baron and Dragon were up for at least 5 minutes. And Dignitas couldn't go to either one because they knew that as soon as they moved in one direction, that CLG was going to punish them. And it's just something that CLG is getting really good at. And it's got to be a terror to play against.
In the bottom lane, when they kept forcing the fight repeatedly, just continuously forcing it, they're like, let's give Lincoln a way to throw spears. Let's do it. And he just kept hitting spears one after the other. And then lo and behold, the one time Afromu hits a binding, that's the way into the base. They played it absolutely amazing. And to touch on our top lane featured matchup, that was 260 CS, a 2-1-8 to Zion Spartan. Seraph still didn't have a great game. 174-044. So CLG was even had to get behind him even more.
And to be fair, 38 minutes into that game, he was 0-4-0. He just got those 4 assists in the final team fight when CLG pushed and won the game. Unbelievable game.
Absolutely. Don't forget to head over to Twitter. Send your favorite highlights to @LOL Esports. Use that hashtag LCS Big Plays. Right now, we're going to send things over to Freak and Kobe for more on the nail biter from CLG.
Thank you very much, Riv. Want to welcome once again the wonderful Rush Hour bot lane here. Guys, that was a crazy game. What happened?
What happened?
What happened? They played League of Legends.
It was a lot of Link.
Let's focus it a little bit more than what happened. Let's start with Champion Select here. You guys gave away Kassadin. Not a lot of teams are confident in giving away Kassadin, especially to guys like Shifter. So that seems like a bait, and you guys are going to run this poke comp into it. What was the plan behind Champion Select here?
Well, I'll start first this time. You always start
All right,
first.
thanks, baby.
Right. Well, Link honestly didn't care if Shifter got casted because he's very confident in playing anything against Shifter's casted, and we all felt comfortable as a team letting him do that. So we just let Shifter have casted, and that way we just centered it around a poke comp where you can just try and catch out Kassadin, and then if we do get a kill, then you can just snowball it after that and try to not fight Dignitas straight up, which is what they're really good at. They're really good at team fights, as we saw in the TSM game, stuff like that. The early game skirmishing is really good as well, but we just wanted to get a poke comp and out-rotate them.
Double lift?
Yeah, I mean, Link is just confident in playing against Kassadin, which not a lot of mids can boast about. So, I mean, if he's confident in the matchup, then I don't care what he's playing against.
So what do you think it is that means like makes all these other teams ban it away? Like why is CLG able to deal with this champion and like this sort of play style when other teams like we'll just ban it and just do something else?
Honestly, Kassadin is a very scary champion to play against, just because you can snowball and roam around the map and pick up free kills here and there, and then you can't really take him after that. But the only reason we can deal with Kassadin is because we have Link on our team. So thank the gods, Link.
It's Link and his spears also. They did a lot of work for you guys towards the mid game, but let's focus on the beginning here. You guys as a duo, we have a replay of your double kill. You guys look good in this clip here. So walk us through this one.
We just got to lane, and I had taken top tower and lane swap, so I have 2,300 gold of items. I have BF and Vamp Scepter. Walking into lane right here, and I don't know what PewDiePie's doing. Like, he should base right now. Like, just because bind miss doesn't mean anything. I got black shielded late. That's okay, baby. Sometimes you shield late. So I flash right here because I know like if I kill him, I'll get dangerous game, which is like a little bit of HP, and also he won't be able to buff PewDiePie up anymore. And then right here, dangerous game just saves me. Like I get the final shot on him, and then I start lifestealing off the wave. Oh man,
yeah.
God bless
single digits life. You're fine with being in single digits, right?
Well, it was like even though we misplayed with the black shield and stuff, I still think it's really dumb to fight somebody with so much item advantage up on you. Like, yeah, they have like one level up because I was towning at that time, but I came back with the BF sword and Vamp Scepter. He should just base.
Yeah.
And
actually,
that decision.
the miss black shield baited Kiwi into trying to attack you again.
Exactly.
Right. So it was
genius.
Calculations, dude.
Actually, yeah. Speaking of single digit life, you know the mid lane like pick that you got at the very beginning with the dark binding, 1 HP.
Level 1?
Yeah, I saw. We all saw 1 HP.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, why didn't I flash for it? Support flash is worth.
Yeah, executioners is what support should be called, actually getting all the last hits. Okay, so you guys transition out of the game, and it's all these crazy sort of back and forth fights. Like, you have these crazy trades where you're like taking turrets for barons. Is that just like, are turrets always more worth it, or is it like this kind of composition where you need base structures?
Versus Dignitas' team comp, we knew we couldn't fight them straight up, so they could just take Baron for free. Plus, we also didn't have vision control in that area because we misplayed the early part of the transition into the mid game. So it was really hard for us to like acquire vision control. So we would just go to the opposite side of the map and get something out of it instead of going to try and fight them.
Great that you bring this up, Aframo, because we have the perfect clip of you guys giving up a Baron to Dignitas where they have complete vision control.
Oh,
so
yeah.
double it. Afro already talked through it. You go ahead.
We're blind right here, and Seraph is super weak, so we know we can't win a 5v5. And we probably know that they're on Baron, but we're going to get something out of it. Like, we're not just going to randomly walk in and one by one file into like a blind area to die. So all of us are just pushing as hard as we can. We think they're on Baron, so like maybe we should ward up or something like that. But the ultimate call, like Afro and Link are just screaming like, take their base, just take their base. And this is like the right move for us because if like our comp, a poke comp like ours, we should be taking as many like of their base as possible so that we can force them into like these chokes and corridors like inside their base so we can poke them later. So like this inhib actually is much more worth it for us than Baron for them.
Now, did Link right there make the call for him to try and zone off Dig and so they can't collapse on you?
He was trying to get vision to see if we were getting flanked or not. And in the end, we did get flanked, and I had to blow flash. And like, I think Seraph ended up dying, but it's okay because taking a hit for Baron right here is against their team comp is so worth.
And you actually got a couple of situations where it turned back around a little bit. The inhibs came back up, and Dignitas were like grouped up and sieging mid. As it goes later into the game, like how do you play it when like you say we can't team fight them? You've got no pressure almost anywhere on the map, and they're grouped up. How do you play around that?
You land a spear.
You just land
a spear.
It seemed like Link was able to do it on demand this game. So I guess, again, that comes back to you guys thinking your mid laner for these types of victories.
He touched Faker's hand, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let him do what he wants.
Oh my gosh. So, Devil, then what do you do as an AD carry then in this type of composition where you're just like, well, normally like a role of an AD carry is like either kill turrets or like kill champions in a team fight, and you guys can't team fight like at all. Like, what do you even do with yourself as a player?
You flash forward and die.
Yeah, I actually had a really bad game.
I was waiting for when that was going to come
I
back.
played so bad. Like, yeah, we killed Cutie Pie, and I played like okay in some team fights, but one of them I flashed forward and died. And as an AD carry, that's like the worst thing ever is when you flash forward and die. Like, oh,
It's okay, man. It's okay.
it was sad. But I just want to get as farmed as possible because 6-item AD carry is the most important in like a team comp like this because Nidalee's just going to pick up farm whenever, and her spears are always going to hurt. And like I know Seraph's pretty far behind, so it's up to me to do as much damage as possible. And then after 5th item, IE, it's like the 6th item is actually what seals like AD carries deals. Like you see, oh, he has Infinity Edge as his 5th item, he's so strong. But actually, the 6th item, Banshee's Veil, is what makes AD carries like so OP because then they can't die.
And then during the end of the game, when the towers are pretty much all gone, you guys end up having to do a team fight here, and we can have the basically the last fight of the game. We have a clip if you can pull that up on your screens. This is where you guys are actually forced to do a team fight to end this one out, but you do get to land your poke first.
Yes. So I am the one screaming here. Just walk back and poke. Don't get caught. Twitch's stealth. So we need to look out, and all we need to do is just land our binds and spears and just wait for them to land, and then we can pick someone off. So just try and not get caught. I have Mikhail's, Twin Shadows, and Frostfang's Claim. And then we land a good spear onto Twitch. He flashes forward, and I don't know what that was, but they all collapse on double lift, but I'm there to back him up with Morgana ulti, and we all collapse right on the same side.
Yeah, my calling resets on Crumbs here, so I get another dash, and then I blow Kale's flash away, and I just see my team is cleaned up after me. So it was just like a perfect team fight from us, and they just like foolishly tried to dive me, but you can't kill Lucian. He's immortal.
Yeah. so Afro, you and Link are the main shot callers there. You've got this incredibly tense game. So what do you sort of look for when you've got the situations, right, where they're kind of collapsing on you? You know they've got this team fight power. You're like, you have no turrets to run to, right? If they catch you, you're gonna get caught. How do you determine like the right places to go?
Honestly, it comes down to our very good vision control that Dexter, Link, and I do, so that we're able to make these opportunities. So we know what they're going to do in advance when we're like sitting bottom, and then we're like, okay, we're going to back off. We cleared all their wards. This is what they're going to do. They're going to walk middle or walk into their red jungle near the race area, and then we can just get the inhibitor for free or pick someone like that. So that's what usually we do, and it all comes down to vision control. And yeah.
So you guys... You seemed pretty confident in the way that you guys could deal with this new Dignitas team that's giving a lot of people trouble. And LMQ actually talked about how they have tailored strategies for every LCS team. What is your plan for Dignitas in the future? Are you going to try and repeat and expose this same weakness, or do you guys have multiple things?
In the future, really, it just comes down to playing as a team very well and what Dignitas' strengths are, which is team fighting, stream machine, etc. And then we can just outplay them rotationally or stuff like that, and it doesn't matter. But this game, Dignitas just sacked their bottom lane, bottom half of the map, and they got ran over, and they just tried to shut down Seraph, and it wasn't really Seraph's fault. One of the rooms casted in room top when we were doing Dragon, Link didn't call that, and so that was Link's fault. And then after that, they just tried to get Zion fed, and something it's just like Coast's team plan, where they just get Shifter and Zion fed, and their bot lane gets sacked, and that's what happened this game too.
So, actually, a little bit closer in the future, you guys are coming up against Cloud9 next. Do you have a tailored strategy ready for them as well? Because they just dropped another game.
I think we know Cloud9 better than any other team because we scrim them so much, and they're just super good. And we end up learning a lot from them every single time we play. It's really surprising that they lose to like Complexity. I thought it was surprising when they first lost to Dig. I was like, wow, they lost to Dig, and they lost to Complexity, then they lost to EG. I don't know. It seems really strange. They seem to like go to the level of the team that they're playing. When they play us, they play really well. So it's scary. They have like almost no weaknesses as a team except for maybe their mid.
Wow. All right. Well, guys, of course, congratulations on your win. And tomorrow we're going to see you guys face off against Cloud9 and what's sure to be a great match. But we've got more games going on. We're going to take one last break before our final LCS game of the day, which is Complexity versus Team Curse. Then Coast will take to the Rift against Team Green Forest in the North American Challenger Series. Don't go away. There's more league action after this.
CLG and Big Gods.
CLG and Big.
Oh my God, we have Morgana.
Clear calls, good plans. Clear calls, good plans.
Clear calls, good plans.
Rat-a-tat-tat has not come out yet. He doesn't have what he wants. He actually turns it on, but then he gets jumped on. First blood coming into Afromu, and like we said before, this is going to be a really hard lane.
Double lift, always still strong.
Double lift, a flash, Ardent Blaze into the light shot. It looks like he goes down as well.
Twitch flash. Did they use everything? They're on me. Hop double.
You're fine, I'm flashing.
Double, I heal for you, okay?
Okay. Yo, cast.
I heal.
I'm throwing by.
Alright, thank you. I hit it. Kill Nami, kill Nami. End the game, end the game, end the game, end the game. Let's go.